you a serial killer?
All welcome. It's finally time. We're going over Strange Darling spoilers. In case you didn't read the intro and the title screen beforehand, please watch this film beforehand. We are going to just annihilate any sort of spoilers to this film, which, for more reasons than one, should probably be watched prior to any of this. So, again, another warning: don't watch this first. Watch the movie, and support it too, because it's a little film that could. The first person that has seen this with me, or it's joining me today, is probably Gray Poupet.
Hey,
Are you one
hey,
of the
I'm
first to see
Gray.
it after I did?
I probably, I know I got tickets for it like the day that it opened, and I was based off of your recommendation. And there's a few other people who have been kind of championing this for a while. I think Cody also mentioned it.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I might have been because I did go to it opening day in my city, and man, I gotta say, I was just, it's amazing. It really blew me away, and it was totally worth the experience and the hassle that it is to go to the modern theater today.
Mm. And rounding out the three of us that have seen it is Lindsay. Lindsay.
And that's Gemma. And there's going to be another corgi running around in the background called Joey, and they also love Strange Darlings. And yeah, I don't know if it was you or Cody or the Pope of Hollywood. One of the three of you guys recommended me go see this movie, and so I just, I just kind of made it happen.
The Pope of Hollywood.
Oh yeah, no, the secret guy that controls all movies. Like Kathleen Kennedy is gunning for his job, but he's still got a few years left.
I've heard that she's in trouble. She's gonna lose her job relatively soon.
Well, every other week
weeks.
in trouble, so
Yeah, so we all kind of enjoy this movie, if not scream that this movie should have more attention.
Oh, yeah.
I think some of this has come together because of the fact that there's little to no noise whatsoever, and the little noise that you guys have seen is negative, and I'm kind of puzzled by that. Whoever wants, go ahead.
It's not all negative. Like a lot of the critics are really lauding its praises and everything. Sorry, I had like a list of them, but it seems like a whole bunch of them were really just singing its praises in a great way, which is awesome. But yeah, it gets like a 95 out of 138 critics reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's probably good. And then an audience score of 85. So it's not like people are disliking this, but I'm seeing a bunch of kind of choice reviews of it that are interpreting it a different way than I am. And yeah, I feel like they're being unnecessarily harsh to this compared to a lot of the other films that we're seeing. And then I got to be honest, when you go to Letterboxd on this, like the first 5 or 6 reviews are all just about how pretentious it is, that the opening is shot on 35 mil. So,
but yeah, I mean, like this stream, the movie was shot on 35 millimeters. So, I've got my 35 millimeter webcam going. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about, Gray. It's someone who is got some sort of credentials in a critic universe that has said, I think it's like a 1-sentence review on Letterboxd, and like, ooh, 35 millimeter film. Do you want us to call Tarantino or something? It's like, okay.
So I'm not sure if it changes the algorithm for everyone on Letterboxd, but it's seriously like the top 5 of them for me are all similar to that. Like, it's cool that you shot on 35, but do you need to tell everybody? It's like, well, yes.
Okay. I didn't have a deal with like Kodak or something. Like, not like this is at all relevant, but like that's what you're harping on.
So yeah, the history is so JT Mollner and Giovanni Ribisi, they both were introduced to each other through the president of Kodak. They're both super interested in actual film. So he's like, hey, you're interested in film. He's interested in film. You guys should, like get to know each other. And they did, and that's kind of how the friendship was forged. They didn't plan on making like this movie. Later, JT kind of sent the script to Giovanni Ribisi and like, hey, can you tell me what you think of this? And he's like, I want to do this. Like, let me do this. So I think part of the film thing is just their shared love of film and just the way that it is so different than digital. You don't have just like countless hours where you can just let the camera roll. You need to kind of rehearse and be ready for this take, and your reel is only so long. So you really have to plan out the shots, and you don't have just extra time. There is something to that. And then what you capture is just forever kind of, you don't find it out generally instantly. You have to send them away and then get back the dailies and find out, did you actually get this in focus? Like, sure, on the viewfinder, it looks good, but there's this added part that isn't quite there with digital where, you can sweeten it up a lot on digital where you don't have that capability on actual film. I mean, you can export it into digital and then kind of work on it from there, but it's a little different. So the shared love is kind of what got them into this. And I guess Giovanni Ribisi, the cinematographer for this, was super against them actually putting that shot on 35 as the first thing. But JT Mollner really wanted to show people, this is why this looks different than everything else. And he kind of wanted it there for the everyman to kind of know, why do I like the way that this looks, as opposed to, a lot of those other things that are out there. So I don't know. I'm kind of two minds. Like, it does seem a bit pretentious, but I can really get behind, no, this is why this looks so different. It's because it is shot on 35.
Lindsay, what's the thing you have to check after every good take?
Sound. Focus.
How many sets have you been on? The gate. You gotta check the gate. Come on, man.
Actually, what's funny is I don't know if I've ever been on a film set before. I think everything I've ever worked on has all been digital. Yeah.
You mean Rob Schneider didn't film in film?
The great artist that is Rob Schneider very disappointingly did not shoot on film. I assumed there'd be a whole trailer dedicated to just empty reels and spools of film just so they could get all the shots, but no, sadly not. I would love to at least try to edit on film one time, just once, just for the hell of it, because I know you have to like tape it and all it like that. I just once. I want to do it just once and then never again.
I wouldn't even edit a 30-second short. Just nope. Just all that cutting and everything. So guys, we'll be discussing the film at length. I basically wanted to talk about the color, the way the visual storytelling is put out through three main colors, and then one that I'm kind of hesitant on, that I don't exactly know what my interpretation of that color is, if it's correct or not, because I don't have much to back that definition up. But I think the color is one of the best for visual storytelling. At least this is one of the best movies that you can get someone to understand how visual storytelling is done through things like set, wardrobe, colors of items, and it's very, I don't want to say simple, but it's very easy to pick up on these things. And I have a handful of images that I've kind of put some, I don't know, words to what I got from those screens. But this is something that if I were a film school teacher, that I would probably use this film somewhere along the lines for visual storytelling, because it's very, again, I don't want to use the word simple, but it's very straightforward and to the point to have people interpret things through things that aren't exactly script. And there is a moment that they use music. There's a leitmotif where they're helping get their story across, and that's that's awesome. It's one of those movies that it seems like it's pretty bare bones if you watch it, but then if you start diving deep into certain aspects of it, it really is. There's a lot more meat on the bone than one path through would have someone think, or at least I think.
Well, the old adage is more is more. So if you put more in your movie, no, that's not right. Is it more is minimum? or is it? Or what's the phrase here? What am I trying to say, guys? What's the? Oh, come on, dude. More is less. I hate you both. Just leaving me out here.
No, keep digging.
No.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with Charles more. I really think that they are going to be using this film in film school. You're right. Like there is a lot that they're doing with the color, but it's not just the color. It's also the blocking. It's also the framing. There's a lot of clues that it gives you. Although it's playing on your misconception, visually, it is just laying so many breadcrumbs and letting you subconsciously know exactly where this is going. And just, man, I think they executed it flawlessly for me. I'm trying to think of a better example of doing that through essentially like visuals and color that if you look at it a second time, you can see just what they're setting up and just how much it definitely looked pretty the first time, but there's so many things that I missed on that first viewing that like they really kind of set up and kind of let you know. Just man, I do think this is one that it will be used in film school quite a bit.
Right. And we discussed it offline before we went live. There's something where I was going to get the image. I'm like, wait a minute, this thing is kind of important. And I had to go back and take extra notes just on getting a certain image. I noticed something. I was like, oh, wait a minute, this has more meaning now.
And you're completely right. Like every one of these things is intentional as well. The colors are in the script. He painstakingly talked to the set designer and the costumer and made sure that there is no character that will be in any like greens or anything like that. He just wanted primary colors. So it's mainly going to be blues and reds, but you will see a couple yellows throughout here. But the only thing that is a secondary color, which I think he calls it tertiary, but the only thing that is that color is nature. And there's an awful lot of it in this. But he's intentionally doing a lot with the colors. But the fade to like blue that happens after, the demon passes out, it's very intentional. It was written in as a fade to blue. There's just so much going on color-wise.
You wrote the script fade to blue. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because, okay. That kind of puts a crack into my theory that it opens and closes with black and white. And well, I guess I will start showing some of my work here. Again, please watch this movie. It's really going to get wrecked if you have no idea about this movie. And
I don't know that it does.
Oh, okay.
So you've seen it more than once, right?
Yes.
Were each subsequent viewing worse for you?
No.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it has a twist, but like the twist happens, I think it's like 40 minutes into it or something like that. It's not like it all hinges on this like M. Night Shyamalan reveal at the very end. Like, you know what's going on the majority of the film.
Right. But I feel like having answers to things before you see it is kind of a letdown.
Fair enough.
It raises the roof, and by that point, you like it's really got to knock it out of the park to match that. I don't know, like us singing. It's
either way.
crazy.
I'm not saying don't see this. Watch the movie, but
I'm saying don't see
it. I guess fair enough. You can turn mute on this thing then.
Okay, so
still give Charles the view.
It bookends with black and white, and the first thing you see is it's Evie Mux. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's a shot of the devil. His character is devil.
The devil is a demon.
It might. All right, it might be demon.
He's billed as the demon, but she says I see devils at one point, so I think she's using it, synonymously.
Right. So him, I'll call him, smokes a cigarette, and all you have is a question asking, are you a serial killer? Smoking trope is present in this movie too. Anyone who smokes a cigarette does poor things, bad things, excuse me. And then the next shot is this. Him strangling lady without context. And to parallel to the leitmotif later, this is the devil we do not know. And using the black and white, it looks pretty straightforward. Like, oh, this guy is strangling a woman. There's a lot more to that than just what we see here. And I love the fact that the movie is bookended by black and white, because it's kind of a bit of a a phrase where people say it's as clear as black and white, but the color within the film really gives you the story from these images, and this shot here is shown, with color in the film, and it's not quite how it seems because the edit in the beginning is quite deceptive. Are you a serial killer? And the next thing we have is, what looks like him strangling someone, and,
Yeah.
Mhm.
um
It's playing on your misconceptions. You're gonna
yes,
interpret that a certain way, which,
yes.
I really like what it's doing, but it is also, it's for the new generation. Everyone wants the little teaser. Why would I watch this video? Okay, this is coming up. I kinda dig it. But, right from there, they then go into a John Larroquette-esque, Texas Chainsaw voiceover and kind of give the story of that. That also kinda sets the mood for me. Just man, I really dug the voiceover that they have come in next.
Yes, yes, very, very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque. Um,
Do
I
we have
need this.
what they say in the voiceover? Because it's like the most bloodiest and one of the most unique killers of the
The
century, or was
21st
it
century.
the 21st century? It's
Yeah.
something like that, right? That's
I think
something I should have
heinous
known.
was used, but I could be wrong.
That's it.
But,
Okay.
yeah, it's fun. It sets it up that there is this serial killer who's known, and this is based off of. I can't remember exactly how they word it, but I dig it. It very much sets the scene, like Texas Chainsaw. Just
Yeah, and throughout the movie, I think there's lots of implied use of gender dynamics in,
for sure.
how people react to things, and, the music that was the entire soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken, right, Gray? With the exception of Love Hurts, was written
Actually,
for this.
that one is well. So that's a duet. So it still is Zeberg, but yeah,
Huh?
like crazily enough, Zeberg. So she did the entire soundtrack for this one, but JT Mollner just got in contact with her and said, "Hey, I really dig this song from your last album, Get Z to the Nunnery,
Mhm.
and wanted to know if he could use that song." And she's like, "Actually, let me just write you a whole score." And man, this is a haunting score.
Right.
But that Love Hurts is exactly what we get right after. So we saw the smoking, the Are You a Serial Killer, and then the kind of strangling, and then all of a sudden we get Love Hurts. That is kind of fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is a duet with the original Keith Carradine. So
S
it's
Huh.
kind of an interesting take on it. I feel like usually it kind of takes me out, but in this, it really made me interested in kind of where we're going with the Love Hurts thing.
yeah,
Well, that whole like opening thing where she's running towards the camera as Love Hurts is playing is like spellbinding. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I couldn't blink the first time I saw that. I was like, is something else going to happen? Is she's just literally just going to get closer and it's going to still frame on her face? It's a hell of a way to open a movie.
And that beautiful color there too,
Yep.
where it went from the black and white to this very, very lush background. And then, yeah, we do get the introduction to the characters as the demon and the lady. I love that. Do we need a real name? We do kind of have a character description from there.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I'm trying to think what I might have it backwards.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is the next shot after that because they do when they show her running, she's got a
Mhm.
red getup and her
She's in the
ear is
scrubs.
bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently that is the image that he I believe he woke up from a dream with kind of that image and is like, that's what this story is going to be. So it was this woman running injured towards the camera from the woods. And I don't know, to kind of start with that idea to get this story. I don't know. That's really impressive. That's not what I thought the kernel of this story would be. But
yeah.
the next shot after that is the kind of epic car chase, if you will.
Yes, yes, I don't have any color notes on that, although, you
Well,
you can have a
Wait,
twin.
again, blue truck, red car. It's again this very primary colors of everything, if you will.
The truck that the demon
Uh,
drives is actually black.
yeah, it's black. Yeah.
She's
it's
decked
a
out in a
really dark
red.
blue. Look back at it. It's not black.
Hmm,
I swears to you.
well, that's frustrating.
That's interesting because I think it might kind of play into your theory about blue in the movie. Have you said what you think blue means yet,
Okay.
or is that a spoiler for later?
Hold that thought, because this
Okay,
doesn't really give that much away. But this is the first shot with blue heavy in it. The
Blue
lighting
Angel.
from the Blue Angel Hotel. There's a common theme when blue is dominant, that it's a false sense of security. And we'll tattoo that along. There's a couple of shots that have blue in there, which also is both characters are smoking, and this is at the hotel. But I'd like to keep it as parallel to the story as possible. But yeah, I really wish I had brought images of the car chase, but she's driving in a Pacer that's all red. Everything in that car matches.
Literally.
Yeah, at that moment, I think she still has the wig on, the red wig. The interior of the car is decked out in red. There's like a vase with flowers in there, which is just wild.
That's interesting. Wait, does she still have the wig on, or or is her blonde hair? I think
I'm not sure. Like, it almost makes sense for her hair to be red, because I don't know if that chase had happened just yet.
So she's in the blonde. She has lost the wig.
Yeah, she's blonde.
Okay.
I literally just pulled it up too. Well done, Gray.
Sorry, I was looking for a picture of the truck, and all of them, I swear to you, it's a dark, dark blue. I went
Whatever
back
you
to
say,
look
Greg.
at this.
Whatever you say.
But everyone that I'm looking at is a little bit ambiguous for the screenshots that I'm seeing right now.
I mean, but I think that does still kind of work, because he, in that moment, he feels like he's in the driver's seat. He's feeling powerful. He feels like he's got to take care of this. He needs to get her, but he probably feels some level of security after getting out of nearly getting murdered by this lady. So, or I guess I just gave it away there.
How dare you on the spoiler stream?
Oh yeah, we're the gloves are off here. Like, if we go out of order. Actually, the movie's told out of order, so
which is my favorite part about it. The fact that when it's like told in 6 chapters. Chapter 3. It's just like, it's such a bold move. I love it.
So
the studio thought so too, and they actually took the cut away from JT Mollner, and like without his knowing, they decided no, this should actually be in chronological order. So they did a cut without any of this weird whatever, to the point that they were just going to release it, and JT was like, "You got to take my name off of it," and apparently he did his own cut, and because of the I guess it's Directors Guild, that you're entitled to your own screening. So he did his own cut, did it the way that he wanted to, and did it in that screening. That's the only thing that convinced him to actually keep his non-linear time for this, if you will.
Right on.
Otherwise, they really wanted that changed, and they didn't care about any sort of reveal or anything like that. It was just, people aren't going to understand this.
Let me ask you guys. I think we're kind of the same mind. But if they had played it in linear, in order, does that change much?
It's more generic and forgettable, I think, if you do it like that. Because we'll talk about, like, there's some discussion about how deep the characters really are. I think it's playing it straight. The fact that, like, simple is not the right word for the characters, but they would come across even simpler or shallower. I think you really lose a lot of the fun and the intrigue and the uniqueness of this movie by doing that. And I think it would be oddly forgettable, actually, by now. We definitely wouldn't be talking about it for a spoiler stream if it was done in chronological order, or at least I think so.
I think it would still work. I don't think it would quite have the impact. Like, it wouldn't play off of your preconceived notions as much. Like, the way that they're cutting it and the way that they're telling you the story, like with it starting with chapter 3 and then using the "Can you help me please" is what the first chapter is titled, or the first one we see. They're using like bits of dialogue, and it kind of intrigues you to want to know, where does this dialogue come from, especially if you do kind of piece that together. But I think it would still capture my interest. Like, just visually, this movie is so amazing, and then the soundtrack. But I think it would lose that element where it's really trying to play with your your preconceived notions and kind of lead you a certain way. But I don't think you'd have that, like the chat is saying, like it made them suspicious about these scenes. I don't think you'd have that. You would just have this kind of one-dimensional thing. But I think I would still really enjoy this. I've heard people say that about Pulp Fiction. Like if you watch it in chronological order, it doesn't work. It's just like a nothing film. I actually saw a cut where somebody had put it in order, and you actually notice a lot more things. Like you notice John Travolta walking to the bathroom in like the very first shot. It's interesting. I think it would still work, but I think it is one of the things that gives it this magic. So I like what they're doing.
Right. There's moments at the house where if you saw it in chronological order, you wouldn't have that. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching it, I'm like, either they're in on it together, they're playing some fucked up game, or well, I don't know what I at least thought of 2 or 3 possible outcomes that why those things were happening, because they don't show us when a certain kill happens, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that's interesting." And I think if we saw it in order, we would know damn well what happened.
Our brains wouldn't be as active. I mean, that's not to say that we'd just be sitting there like drooling, being like, "Oh, pretty pictures," but like we wouldn't be like, "Okay, so wait, how did we get here? How did that person die? Where did this start? Where did this date go wrong?" Like all these different questions that we have as we're watching the movie, we just kind of wouldn't have them. And like, I'm not going to pretend like every time a studio has gone to a director and said, "No, you need to change this," it's been for the worse. There's probably been plenty of times where a studio note saved a movie, but like one of my favorite movies of all time is Snowpiercer, and Bong Joon-ho almost lost complete control over that movie, and Weinstein almost gutted it to like a third of its or like to 2/3 of its length or something like that, which is like insane, because what would you cut out of that movie? Every last little thing informs everything as you're going up the train. I couldn't imagine that movie without anything in there.
Well, I guess speaking of studio interference, so they got the first couple days of shooting done, and it was sent back to the studio, and they decided, "Oh my God, this sucks. There is nothing special here. Everything that Willa Fitzgerald is." So I believe it was the scene in the freezer, but everything that she is doing does not work. We need to immediately recast her. So it actually put the production on halt for like a week. And there's kind of this big, long set piece that was supposed to happen in the Hood River. So I believe it would be part of the chase, essentially, before they get to the hippie house. But that entire thing had to be scrapped because for a week they were shut down. And JT Mollner, again, had to tell them, like, essentially, "Okay, if you don't let me have this actress, as you said, I'm walking. I'm not going to be doing this." So it took about a week. And then finally the studio gave in and they were able to start filming again.
Yeah, I mean, it can be arguable if the studio has a certain amount of heavy duty money into a project, but when it's a $4 million,
I also heard him say, "I wish we had 4 million." So I don't know the real budget in it, but it sounds like it's less than 4 million apparently.
Well, so it's another thing that JT Mollner a couple of times I've just been glued to his ex Twitter. His profile quite a bit. Yeah, whatever. And there's a couple of times where he's like, I didn't hear about, like when the Blu-ray got announced, I haven't said anything about that. Then the 4K got announced. I don't know anything about that, but it has been true in those occasions. That doesn't mean that perhaps the studio didn't end up spending a total of, listen, first of all, Hollywood, they love to make you think they spent a hell of a lot more than they did, whatever they're doing for tax purposes and so on, fine. But if they need a certain number to make, it appears to be 4 to break even, which they're close to. I just argue that if you're a studio and you're spending less than 10 million, you have a director for a reason, a director / a writer for a reason. He has every perspective of that story. So, unless you're willing to, I don't know, exchange some sort of big back end shit, let them tell their story. It's not like it's a $50 million, $150 million budget. So what are we picking at here?
Yeah.
First of all, I apologize for my dogs being squeaky. I think I've got all the squeaky toys away from them now. We shouldn't have to deal with any more of that. But go ahead though, Gray. I cut you off. I apologize.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if you are like a kind of, what would you call it, a waning studio, Miramax, they're not known for a whole bunch of things recently. They had a bunch of big hits back in the day,
They're
but
back on the uptick. They're free of their
now they
Weinstein
are.
roots. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they were free of him for a while. He went to Weinstein Company in what, like the 2010s or something like that. So they've cut ties for a while, but
yeah. And now they're trying to. I mean, it's just a great project to. It's not exclusively Miramax. I mean, distributing's one thing.
Yeah,
producing's
there's
another.
like 5 companies
right,
on this
right.
one, but Miramax seemed to be like the big name on there, which is kind of cool. Like I'm glad that they're willing to go with kind of these lower budget ones that are kind of interesting films.
Yeah, low risk.
You don't need
high reward.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we're definitely seeing that right now at the box office with 2 different killer clowns, are we?
Nope.
No, sorry. Off topic.
No show business.
No show business. Yeah, no. I had a thought. Let me get back to it. Why get back to it here? Jacob Cornrose in the chat pointed out that it's Gomez from Breaking Bad that shows up at the end, and it's been both times I saw the movie. It bugged the heck out of me. Who are you? I needed to look the guy up, and I never did. Freaking Gomez.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that dude's awesome. He's been in a bunch of things. He's always kind of a bit character like that, so he just kind of blends in. But yeah,
he steals the show. He doesn't need more than that. That's all he needs.
Was that it?
No, I can't. I'm trying to remember what my other thought was. I can't remember, so I'm gonna stop vamping now.
All right.
I apologize.
No. Yeah, I have the hotel scenes. I have it out of order. I'm certain it's by alphabetical order, not by order of.
So by the time we get to the hotel, that's like the 3rd chapter that we got to see. So chapter 3 is what opens it, and Can You Help Me Please? And it's kind of the Art Pallone, the Art Bell version of the radio host is playing as she's entering to the hippie's house and then kind of collapses there. Then the next chapter starts, and it's the Here Kitty Kitty one, where it's kind of Gallner going through the house looking for the lady. And then we come to that was chapter 5, Here Kitty Kitty. And then chapter 1, Mr. Snuffle. So, good times. It's
so this is a part of chapter 1. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. So the 3rd chapter we have seen, but yeah, it definitely gives you some intrigue because now you're seeing this conversation that it showed us in black and white, but now it's just bathed in this just beautiful blue, which they went to great lengths to try and do this. I guess Giovanni Ribisi was practicing for like weeks with this fake head, trying to get just the right amount of blue light. Because, man, that is kind of amazing. It even takes her red wig and it just takes all the color out of that. Same thing with his red shirt. Just everything is bathed in this perfect blue.
Dude, like you could not be about this movie. You don't get with this movie. That's one thing, but you really can't say this is an ugly movie. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah. I even like the reviews that I read that are on the negative side, they all admit like this is a very well-made movie that is gorgeous, and they enjoy all the technical stuff that's going on with it. They just have other issues. It's kind of impossible to watch this movie and not appreciate the art and the creativity that went into it.
Right, like how I feel about Joker 2. Listen, I'm not feeling it, but man, it's pretty.
It's pretty.
It's hard to deny that.
I think, yeah, I love the visuals in that, but I prefer the visuals in this. Even we kind of glossed over one thing. Right before it shows the fluorescent blue angel sign, it shows the red of the brake lights, and it's just really intensely red. It's that play of red and blue. But man, it kind of subconsciously makes you a bit weary every time you hear or see that red.
Have I given a hint on red yet? So blue is a false sense of security. This may be a little too soon for this, but it's I could see it tiny in the frame that it's very red. This is when she's in the bathroom prior to a drug situation. Red represents her outright aggression, also literally shows us that she sees red.
Well, and you get just a glimpse of that red right before we have the fluorescent blue angel sign scene, just with the brake lights. You just get a flash of it. It's not intense like this.
Yeah. And they use red rather heavily on like wardrobe and things. And yeah, so this is a little soon, but her wig was red while they were in a hotel, whatever, the Blue Angel, whatever the shit it was. So the one thing I noticed when we got to see her head to toe was she had red shoes.
Oh yeah, those red boots are everything, man. My entire life revolves around those boots.
And I'm almost certain that with the length they go to with this movie, that her wearing a non-matching bra, that has to be for some specific reason. And the thing that I could kind of pull out from what I was thinking was that her red panties represented her sexuality and being used as bait. The shoes were red, which, her hair was what she was using to get ahead in the hotel, and she was using her brain, her thought process. And now she's using her feet to get away. And she needs that to stay mobile. And unfortunately, in this shot, it doesn't mean much at this moment in the movie, but she passes a very familiar light blue truck, and it is another false sense of security, because maybe if she had gone to that truck at that moment, we wouldn't have the ending that we do. But her aggression, her greed kind of backfire.
The driver of that truck is, they're cautious, so who knows? It's hard to say.
I have an image of that get up too, so we'll that's definitely third act stuff. But
yes,
yeah, I don't know if so this preempts this, and this is when she runs into the hotel and asks for help. Look, the hotel attendant wearing blue. Everything else in the shot is red. The door that says no exit, red. The phone that she would use to call for help, red. And the outfit that the nurse in the scrubs, who she eventually takes her very red car from, also red. I'm sorry, you're not going to get me to believe that this is all coincidence. It's just not happening.
None of it is. They went to great lengths to really capture that no characters are wearing green, especially, but they really wanted to stick with red and blue, and you'll see splashes of yellow throughout. But
what was the guy wearing? The random cowboy guy that comes out of his room when he starts shooting? What was he? I know he was wearing some kind of plaid.
It was like a blue robe, but I'm kind of blanking.
Wait, when she says he's got a gun, he's like, I got a gun too.
So do I.
Exactly. Yeah, which is an incredible moment in a movie.
Yeah, and the one other thing that we didn't mention, so you mentioned the entire the color that they're using, but it's not just that; it's also the framing and the blocking. For most of that scene where they are in the truck where they're talking in front of the Blue Angel sign, for most of that, you do get almost a full view of Kyle Gallner's face, but a good portion of that scene you only see part of Willa Fitzgerald's. So it's kind of like
they're in shadows.
You're only seeing a part of her, but there's a lot of this type of just a little bit subtle kind of subconscious ways that they're setting up that there's more to her than she's letting on.
Very good, Gray.
Well, I mean, the first line of the movie is again her saying, "Are you a serial killer?" Which is such just
You're not really asked that.
Not on dates. Sometimes on the app, we'll be like, "You're not an axe murderer, right?" Once we're there in person, hey, it's either too late. We either are or you aren't.
Having that, and then having the next shot being him strangling, and there's heavy metal playing in the background. You're like,
oh yeah.
Oh, they're definitely suggesting something here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we didn't talk about that either. I've heard really mixed reviews on the actual score of it as opposed to the soundtrack. The score is amazing. I wish I had written down the dude's name. I can find it here. I have the actual thing, but the score is very interesting. It's to me, it's kind of like a take on like Mick Gordon-esque thing.
Yeah.
It gives me very Doom. So it's Craig De Leon is the dude who did it, but they're these very kind of short, kind of industrial pieces. But it gives me almost like gent feeling. So kind of that soundtrack from Doom, but
Lighter,
they're
different.
really textural, where it's kind of like a guitar and a synth at the same time, and it kind of gives this really full but eerie sound. I
Yeah.
really dig it, but a few people have called it just nothing but noise, and fair enough. But you can find it online. I think it's like emp.disco. If you just look up "Strange Darling" music by Craig De Leon, the whole thing is out there on the internet. You can listen to it for free. I've done it a few different times. It sets a mood. It really kind of is the yin to Zeeberg's gang, if you will. Just man, the haunting. I love the actual soundtrack to it, but man, if you were going to tell me what you're going to pair that up with in this, I never would have thought gent. But that just it works for me so much for those intense. Not only the chase scene, not only the choke scene, but there's just times where it really ramps it up in a weird way that I really dug, but apparently rubs some people the wrong way.
I think when he gets on top of the truck with the gun and it has like this dun dun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's like his motif whenever he's on screen. The thing's like, burr, burr, burr. It reminds me of a Futurama episode, randomly enough, but we don't need to get into that. It's very powerful. Like it's difficult to watch him doing the things that he's doing with that music playing over the things that he's doing, and not automatically assume he's the bad guy. It's manipulative, but like in the good way. Yeah.
And good call, Jacob, on the Mike Patton score. Maybe that's the other reason why I love it. I'm just a huge fan of Mike Patton as well. So, it gives me a bunch of warm feels, and it feels familiar yet intense in the right way for me. But yeah, I've heard a couple people complain that it's just noise, where fair enough, it borders on that, but I think there's so much more going on in there. And I think it adds emotion and texture in the same way that I get it from like a Doom game. But it's a very unique score, and I absolutely love it.
Well, it's just like does music need to be melodic? Or can music kind of
it's
be chaotic?
juxtaposed. Like the fact that he has heavy music and she has this light shit. Meanwhile, she's the villain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers. No.
Well, perhaps she's just misunderstood. You never know.
She's very honestly a little bit psychiatric help. Who knows? She could, completely.
I was going to say, it is kind of a commentary on mental health in a way. I mean, she doesn't seem to be perfectly sane. I think from what we're seeing, she actually sees these demon things. So, it's somewhat understandable, not reasonable. But
would you argue that perhaps her character is a bit of a sociopath because she knows exactly how to play into people's expectations with gender dynamics?
I would think so. From what we see in here, it certainly seems like it. But I guess in both Kyle Gallner and Willa Fitzgerald's like conversations with the director, they were asking like in the truck scene, like, is this authentic? Are they actually like into each other? Are they connecting? And he seemed to be under the impression that they were. So I think she is a sociopath, but I think in parts of this she's being authentic. Like I do read that truck scene as she's actually being authentic. And
there's even a moment where like when she's in the freezer and like handcuffed to the outer handle, and she was like, I really meant some of those things, and it was just I'm like, is she just saying that because she's fucked up right now? Like what?
I think they're taking it, and the way that I'm interpreting it is that yes, some of those were actually authentic, but there is something that kind of switches in her. And
however, she does try to frame him for SA with
well, that's drugs. After. I mean, she's already seen him as a demon. Before that, she was into him, but after that, she starts her thing.
Yeah, I think that's her thing. whole thing as the electric lady, the killer. Like she's relatively normal until she sees you for the demon or for what you really are, or something. I don't know. And then the moment she sees that, then she's like, "Oh well, you gotta die." Like, doesn't that kind of happen
For
in the
some
truck at the
characters,
end? Like,
yes. So for
yeah.
both Gallner and the sheriff, yes, but not for Ed Begley Jr. and not for. I swear there's somebody else that she takes out, and now I'm blanking on it. But she seems to be willing to like kill or hurt or injure or anything like
The
that
woman
for
that
her own
says
convenience.
when she's in the
Oh,
back of the police car.
yeah, yes, that's the other one. So like, it doesn't have to be somebody that she sees as a demon. She does obviously have little remorse. It seems. I guess that's arguable, but yeah, Barbara Hershey as well. Sorry, that was the other one that I forgot. I don't think she sees Barbara Hershey as a demon, but it's an impediment to her getting away.
Well, what about the lady, the one in the greenish truck that saves her at the end? Didn't was there a moment where she saw her as a demon? Because she pulls a gun right before she pulls a gun on her and shoots her.
So there's a red flash, which makes it seem yes, but
Okay.
she's looking in a mirror. So did she see herself as the demon? There's a couple interpretations that it's more of like an act of suicide, like suicide by cop or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not I'm not sure if she has been through a lot and she seems to be pretty beat up at that time. So I'm not sure why she's going so slow, but she does seem to be moving at like a snail's pace to pull this thing out in front of someone who may be armed.
Well, I kind of interpreted that like she's been probably just running on pure adrenaline for the last 2-3 hours as she's been dealing with all this. She's probably crashing a little bit as she's getting into this lady's car, and she's like, "Oh no, I need to kill her and keep," but she like just doesn't have the energy anymore. That's how I interpreted it, anyway. But the idea that she saw herself in the mirror as the demon, that's interesting. Is maybe she
It's kind of
figured
a
that she
flash of
needed to
red.
die.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
demon's face in a rear view.
Oh, you're
I used
right.
that for the intro.
Ah, that's the other thing. I feel like I've seen this movie twice, but I feel like I need to see it like 3 or 4 more times. Like,
Yeah, so you've discussed it, so I'll put the image up. It slowly fades as you're just watching her just for about 3 minutes, just dying on camera, and it goes to black and white.
mhm.
Lady looks to be murdered, driver unharmed. Which, if you were to look into this, she's all fucked up, and the driver pulled a gun on her and takes the gun away from her. This is where the music plays into it too. I left the
Yeah,
lyrics at the
better the
bottom.
devil you know.
Right. She's
Yeah.
shot by the devil which is women, rather than the devil you don't, which is men. The film bookends the real
Whoa.
events with black and white images that are actually more than they seem.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention also when she sees her reflection, there is quite a music swell. Like there is something very important that she sees. I think it's implying that she is seeing herself as that, but it doesn't. I guess it's open to interpretation, but she really slowly pulls that out, and then, man, that is one of the toughest shots to watch. Just the color fade out of that, and then just her whole performance. Just man, that's definitely one of those on-screen deaths that I'm not gonna forget. Just man, it really kind of sticks with you, and that haunting music over it. Just,
Or just how often do you get to just kind of just watch the life like drain out of someone's slow film? Like
Dude, that
it's
scene
usually
alone, never mind the rest of the movie, that scene alone is worth some discussion for awards, which it's won 2 already.
I hope that's just the beginning, because
Right.
man, it deserves a nod or at least a nomination for so many more things. But man, apparently they had a lot of issue with that scene too. They basically had their special effects person like quit on them, and they just got, I think it was like the hair person or maybe it was the regular makeup person, just happened to be like, well, I have some fake blood. But what they were able to capture there is just like amazing. But there was originally like an effect that was supposed to kind of more go off. I'm guessing more bleeding or whatever, but just that performance totally sells it for me. But they almost scrapped that whole scene, or at least changed it significantly when they had behind the scenes issues.
If you really want to, I don't know, if you want to pick on things in the movie, it can be perceived as kind of long. That scene's long. It probably could be a tight hour, this movie, because the opening when she's running, that we see a lot of that shot too. But, I really feel like it works with the music that like, it really is a conscious effort to play the video with the music, and it's very I
Well,
don't
and
know,
did
it
you
quite marries.
recognize that that's the second time that they played that "The Devil You Know"? The first time that they're playing it is right after she sees Kyle Gallner as the demon, and she's in that split diopter shot where she's the deep focus, if you will. The one behind us right now, that is the scene where "The Devil You Know" plays first, and the lady then turns and retreats to the bathroom after that. But it's kind of an interesting recall where that's the scene that they kind of go back to the music for the end.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, considering that the music was written for this movie, it really, like like, if you watch this movie without knowing what the lyrics are to that song, it's I don't think you're
Wait,
gonna
was
understand.
that song written for this too?
Yeah,
No, it
the
wasn't, right?
whole album was. The only one
Really?
that wasn't is there's one
Cleverance.
song that JT Mollner's mother sings, which is the first song on the album, Gets Into the Nunnery. It's uh, Try to Forget You. It's no matter how hard I try to remember, I just can't forget you. It's a really haunting song, but I believe it plays over the credits in this time. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, for some reason, his mother got to cover that song in a fun way.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, why not? Yeah,
On the album, it gets an intro from Art Pallone, Giovanni Ribisi himself. So it's kind of fun.
yeah. Is that his Art Palome? Is that his credit
His Art
for?
Bell character.
Oh, that's
Yes,
amazing.
yeah, he's the radio DJ.
Right. That's funny.
Right. So since I've shown the final shot, let me see what I haven't put here. So I put up this when she gets into the police truck, which all blue. They're wearing blue. Here's the exterior of that very same truck after all the things that have happened in there. Again, smoking. Which I guess, where are you? I guess this is kind of relevant again when the woman at the end picks her up
Yeah,
in
that
that
same truck.
blue
We
truck
just
that
had on
was
Facebook.
here.
Mm.
So it is in the right-hand side there, and it's the very same truck that picks her up at the end. And that is the total of the out of order shots that I have saved that I have notes on. But this is something that, like, if you keep an eye out for these colors. So I'll ask you guys this because I have the note here that the lady is wearing black here. And during the beginning, Kyle Gallner's character is wearing black, but when he's hunting her, he's got that red and black, that brawny shirt. Does the color black have a meaning to you guys? Because I think it does, but I'm not really confident in how I interpret it.
Well, could black be the color of like assumptions? Because like when we see him in like the black truck that I guess is dark blue, sorry gray, but we're gonna say just for the sake of my argument, I'm gonna say black. You know, and like black, there's a lot of black with him associated earlier in the movie, like kind of color mixed with red. And then here at the end, she's all dressed in black with a little bit of red on her, as this other woman like assumes she's the victim. And earlier we assume that he's the bad guy. Well, he's got black in it, so is black like ambiguity or?
That might feed into this shot too, because the hotel clerk is wearing a blue shirt, but she's got a black jacket. You
True.
know, it's a false sense of security, and everything around that office is red.
Yeah.
I'd like your interpretation because it helps mine a bit more, but I don't if it's
I'm
wrong
raging.
if it's wrong, I like I can't stand it when a director says, "It's what you want it to be." Like, "Alright, that's fine, but what did you intend it to be?"
That has been kind of his answers. I've heard somebody ask him directly, like, did she choose suicide at the end? And he said, I'll leave it open to your interpretation. So I think that might be his answer on a few of these things, but I think you've examined the colors a lot more deeply than I have. I just thought they were pretty uses of red and blue. Really pretty. Red definitely seems to be more dangerous to me in this film, but I think I'd have to watch it again and really focus on just red and blue.
And again, the use of the black underwear. You know, she's got, excuse me, the black bra. Everything else she's wearing is red, right down to her wig. I'm certain that that is a choice to not have that wardrobe match, and I don't know why.
She wants her boobs to be a mystery.
It's ambiguous that she's using
ambiguous. That's what I meant. She wanted her boobs to be ambiguous. That's what I meant.
Because she won't need to use them the same way she would her sexuality and lower private parts.
Possibly. Maybe her main weapon is her butt. I don't know.
I'm reverse.
I'm done with these jokes.
I was reverse reaching for you to help.
Reverse reaching for me? That's a sex act if I've ever heard one right there. No, you see, whenever we start talking about the color in this movie, I immediately want to just go and watch it again. Like, I want to catalog like every little thing that's blue, and like every in that house. I want to know like what because there's so much like random stuff like on the walls and like on the tables in that house. I want to like know every little thing.
Oh yeah, there were shots too where I don't know if it was me fishing and looking for it or what, but there was a shot or two where, like when she's in the freezer. And he's like sitting across from her with a gun. The freezer door that's open has like a bluish tint to it where she's in a false sense of security, and the walls where he is red. And I mean, if it's coincident, it's fucking how lucky, or at least lucky. Or maybe what I'm looking.
They put it in there explicitly to make us think these things while they're sitting in the back being like, they don't get it.
I mean, I'll take it. But at the same time, I don't think, like, they spent, what, 4 years putting this together, Greg?
So it was supposed to go into production before. So I think it's much less time than that, but COVID delayed them. But then they were able to put together like this, I think it was like 70-page shot by shot like list of exactly what angle they're going to use, what they're doing with the color, everything like that. They were really given extra time to plan it. So I don't think it was extra years, but it's definitely a lot more time than you'd regularly have on
this
anything.
Is a rare instance where COVID might have helped a story. And
excuse me, sir, what are you talking about? It also helped Uncharted, the movie, where no one could be on screen together for longer than 2.6 seconds. It made it for a much better movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes taking a little bit more time with things helps.
Apparently, Jacob is not a fan of the Sunday breakfast scene.
Wait, yeah, I object vehemently, sir. That was the most delicious thing I've ever seen put to scratch. That made me so hungry. It gave me the munchies.
It looked rather opulent. The entire can of what was that, pie filling, and then the maple syrup. Apparently both actors are vegan as well, so all of that was cruelty free.
Okay.
They made alternatives for it.
I like that.
Didn't they use a whole stick of butter in that too?
Yep. I just kept laughing. They just added more and more stuff, and I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, put that on there too. Yeah, go for it.
It's like a layer of grease. It was just, yeah, that was a lot.
But I like how they had like a nice little bowl of strawberries at the end too. Just like, see, there's something healthy. It's fruit.
But yeah, I think that was the point. They want you to kind of ease into it, like, okay, I mean, that's a bit decadent with the whole thing of butter, but all right, like that's, and it just keeps going and just keeps going.
Yeah,
that scene.
When they get to the farmhouse, what is that radio broadcast they're listening to?
So that's Art Bell. That is Giovanni Ribisi doing his Art Bell impression. I don't know if you're familiar
his
with
cameo.
Yeah. He's also at the very end. He says a little bit, but there's kind of like a behind the credits, after the credits, little bit of just Giovanni. But it's kind of a coast to coast Art Bell impression thing. He's one of those out there, radio hosts that does the talk radios.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. I want to listen. I want to do a viewing where I just pay attention to that, so I know exactly what the hell they're talking. So because what are they talking about? It sounds political at one point, but then it sounds like it's like utter shenanigans. Like
See,
I can't.
that's another thing where I feel like if you watch it out of order, or excuse me, watch it in order, it may or may not help, because at that moment you don't know where she's going. You don't know who she is, and it seems like, oh, she's going to a wacko's house. They have speakers outside their I'm not sure if
They're
I
hill
know
people.
they had
They'll
flowers.
be-
They have red
It's a pretty
flowers.
house. It's a pretty house. There's a lot of nature, a lot of green stuff, a lot of plants.
But I remember first witnessing that, going like, "Oh, this might be a bad situation she's running into," because they're playing like
Exactly.
weirdo shit, like Red State did. Like, oh, it's one of those houses. Eh.
But
The
then you see
film
it's
Red State.
Bagley Jr. And how harmful is he? Come on.
That made me so happy when he showed up. I was like, "Oh, what's up, Ed Bag? How you doing, buddy?" And
Excuse
what's
me,
her
I called
name
them hill
too?
people.
Oh,
Chapter 4 is the mountain people. They're mountain people. I lessened their hill. I'm sorry. It is a mountain.
wow, sir. The dwarves are upset with you right now.
So I just wrote that it was Giovanni on the radio. I did not actually write any notes on what he was actually saying. Off the top
Oh,
of my
that's
head, I
fine.
kind of forget what his speech was about.
I mean, it is a little weird. Like, who has megaphones in their front yard?
Mhm.
It's just
Well,
odd.
they don't like earbuds, you know? They bought this acreage. Why not? But
The
yeah, I
one
get what
part
you're
from
saying.
the that I remember is something like one of the guys says something and the other's like, "Okay, excuse me, that's fine. I'm going to let you keep going, but like, there's no swearing on this program, sir." Or just something like that. One of the characters criticizes the other for using foul language. Is the only thing I remember them actually talking about.
What
Yeah,
is
I
it
think
from?
I need to go back and rewatch that scene. Just the radio going on.
The radio
Oh,
interview thing that they're playing. Yeah, and that couple was great too. It's like she's an old hippie, he's an old biker, but like at first you think they're just like this sweet old couple, and then they're like weird stoners with the best breakfast ever, and then they've got like even more drugs upstairs.
yeah, doesn't
Like,
she yoink like a bunch
Well,
of Percocet or something from them?
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but they've got a very limited supply and they're willing to share anything with her. Not only their very limited drugs, like she says, we only have a couple left. And he's like, "Go on, mother," or whatever he calls her. And, so then she goes to get that. And while she's going to get that, she says, "Hey, could I eat that food?" And he's like, "Yes, please, please." They're willing to offer anything they've got to try and help. They seem like a very generous hippie couple.
So what is there anything to that bizarre meal that was being prepared?
Well, it's to show them that they're weird. I
I
think.
mean, they go decadent on Sunday breakfast.
Mm,
I'm not sure. I kind of got that they were, stoners. That's pretty heavy on kind of everything, that meal. But I don't know. Did you get more? You seem to be more deeper with your analysis, if you will. I like
I
the
was
color thing.
I was reading
I just
colors.
thought they were pretty. I just thought the breakfast was funny. Did you get something out of it, sir?
I don't know, Lugan. I don't know if there were blueberries.
Ugin.
Don't do that. I not very often, because usually when people use color for like visual storytelling, it's not quite as overt as this movie does. And that's why I think this movie's easier for me to work with that with, because there are movies where there's like every other color in the sun working, and they have meanings for different reasons, and they don't have this thematic reuse over the course of the movie. That's why I feel like this movie is fun to look at for that purpose, and it's something that to get people an introduction into using color and music even, and wardrobe, all those things, and blocking and all this shit. It's very easy. Like, if you just these are one of those. There are a few movies, but this is certainly one of them where if you just take the music and or not the music, you take the dialogue away, you can figure out from the images by the end, like, okay, color blue is there, color red is there, bad, good. Like, these are fun movies that I would really have a kick discussing in school, because um, having these color interpretations and theory of visual storytelling, it it's very unique, and when it's, I don't want to say easy, simple. When it's straightforward like this, I really feel like I'm smarter than I am, and
which is always
Charles,
nice.
you're very smart. You're not as smart as me, but you're very
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, I don't feel like I'm quite on the same level as you. So please feel smarter. But man, there's just so much going on with this visually that I can understand people thinking that part of the story is, I guess simple, if you will, or that it somehow is doing that thing where you need a twist.
but that's
I don't think
fine
it
though,
even
isn't it?
necessarily needs that. Again, it happens like 40 minutes in. So it's not like
Yeah.
this all hinges on something. More than half of the film, you know what's going on. But I don't
How
see
long
how
is the
people
movie?
can't
Is it an hour and
appreciate
a
the
half?
visuals.
Well,
Is it 2
Uh,
hours? Sorry.
I want to
No.
say it's in between the two, but let me look up the actual time.
I definitely think it's close to 2.
no, it's like an hour 30, I think. It's tight.
Okay.
Is it? For some reason, I was thinking it was more like 145, but yeah,
That might be right.
137. So like 140.
Split the
Okay.
difference.
Okay.
So you've got an hour. So still the majority of the time that, you know the twist. So I don't know. I don't think it hinges on that, but I don't know. I guess a lot of people are seeing it as a gimmick movie for that reason.
Well, so we haven't really discussed this one element that I was always interested in seeing how, if this gets out into more viewers,
Mhm.
I'd like to hear because it feels like opposite ends of the social and political spectrum would interpret this different ways, but the the gender dynamics and the exploitation of, you know, how society interprets these gender dynamics. It's covered, and there's a line that Lindsay you said that it kind of made you wince a bit.
Yeah.
And do you want to share how you felt with the cops
Well,
discussion?
so towards the end of the movie, I think it's last like 15 minutes, like
Yeah.
maybe even less than that at that point. The cops show up finally, and they walk in, and it's just a shit show. Dead bodies everywhere, blood, crying woman who's handcuffed to a freezer and her pants are partially pulled down. One cop is like, "Don't touch anything. We don't know what is happening here. We need to investigate." And the other cop's like, hey, crying woman. Let's deal with her."
Well, the
I'm
And
other
going to
they
push
thing
back.
wait, the
well,
other thing is wait,
The
wait,
other
wait.
cop. So,
The
okay, Charles, it's your show. You go
sorry.
first.
The other
Yeah.
thing is Kyle Gallner called them for help. He's the one
Yes.
who contacted them. So, like, the cop knows Kyle Gallner in some way, and he
Mhm.
he says that message where he's like, "I fucked up. I did something stupid or something like that."
Hmm.
That's
I'm
true.
in
And
trouble.
yeah, I'm in trouble. Right. Go ahead, Gray. I'm sorry.
So he says we've got to follow protocol. We should find out what happened first. And then
Yeah.
she pushes back and says, the protocol is we help the victim. So she's also going off protocol. She's interpreting the scene differently. And she is going off of, an empathetic thing that we've got a victim here. We need to attend to them first and get them medical aid first. Apparently,
Sure.
calling an ambulance is out of the question. They have to take her personally to the hospital. That part might be a bit of a stretch. You've got a radio. But
Well, there's always a conceit. There's always like a little, like
yeah,
the little
but
thing.
I don't think they're making this female cop like stupid, and that's kind of what I've
No.
heard from a couple people's criticism, that they make all the female characters, um, I guess will be the sensitive way of saying how he put it, mentally deficient. And I just don't see that. I see
What?
that as
I don't agree with that either. Yeah.
she interprets this situation as this person is injured. Our protocol is we help out somebody with an injury. And
Lady is
look at
cunning,
this.
and the woman at the end is smart enough to.
Shooter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are two women.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Oh, but we're getting this. So the line that makes me cringe and made other people cringe too. Just because I'm a woman and doesn't mean I can't handle, or is it, or just because
I guess just because I have a vagina. I
that's
think
what it is.
she
Just
actually.
because I have a vagina doesn't mean I can't handle this type of work. And that is like the worst kind of callback to the worst kind of like third or fourth wave feminism that was big in the 90s. Like if you've ever watched Stargate, the pilot for Stargate is unwatchable because of lines like that. The rest of the show is incredible, but the pilot is full of that stuff and it's legitimately painful. And then you listen to like the commentaries of people talking about it later and they talk about how much they hate this episode because of lines like that. So like I hadn't heard something like this in like 20 years. So it takes me out of the movie a little bit.
Well,
Just because
they are backwoodsy. There's that.
True.
And plus she's wrong.
True. Oh, 100%. No.
This dude does seem like he's kind of pushed his seniority around before. I didn't specifically hear anything sexist from him that's like, let the men talk or the men are handling this or like, I didn't hear anything like overt like that, but I got the impression that he is kind of thrown around like, hey, I'm a senior. I've had this many years on the job, like as he kind of does there.
Well, yeah.
So I think it might be a way to push back on that.
He does come back later. Like I've been around 25 years since you were in diapers or something like that. He does combat what she says. And then when they get held up in the truck, he's like, motherfucker.
I understand. Also, I've heard criticism of the whole line, like, are you a serial killer? Okay, well, you didn't have to think about that. Well, you wouldn't because you're a man. I can't remember the exact thing, but essentially saying like, yeah, you wouldn't have to think about that. Women do have to think about this. I don't know. I think it's a cunning way to kind of shift the suspicion off of yourself or whatever.
Well,
in that
when the woman
moment
is a serial killer and they're just trying to,
Well, so here's the one aspect of the movie. Only about 15% of real world serial killers, maybe less, are women. It's a very rare thing. And so what one element of pushback that I've seen on this movie is the fact that this movie thinks it's being super clever with the twist of it was a woman the whole time. When in reality it just kind of doesn't, for the people that are kind of bringing this up, it's not really saying or challenging anything. And one person even said that they thought the idea of taking a woman serial killer and have her kind of whole MO be about like she's like turning like dating on men in the sense that like she's making dating for men as dangerous as it can be for women. They find that kind of a bit of a turnoff. I'm not necessarily agreeing with these things, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit because like I've heard it from enough things that I think it's worth mentioning. I don't agree with it because I think that the point of this movie is to kind of just go on a ride and like let the experience happen to you and see how you feel. It's kind of how I interpret it.
Even with the color interpretation, it takes the black and white images, what you think in the opening, him strangling, are you a serial killer? And then him strangling. And then it subverts that. So I would say the whole story of this is, all of these tropes, all of the cliches that we know about gender dynamics, there's a lot more to it than just black and white. It's, it's not quite as cut and dry as, the generalizations are. And I think that's what this movie, especially with the visual storytelling through color, I really think it does a fantastic job of subverting that.
Yeah.
I think so too.
I agree.
It works on so many levels.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess we don't know enough about the Electric Lady or what exactly she does. I do have like the whole opening. I found it on Twitter really quick. But we're not shown that she is like a date killer that just, it's not like the, now I'm trying to think, what was that? Like wasn't there like I swear there was a dating app killer at some point. Anyway, like it doesn't seem like she's necessarily doing that. It seems more like it's victims of, some sort of convenience. She seems okay with taking out other people, but it's only people that she sees as demons that she's doing that whole like carving in, is the interpretation that I got. I could totally be wrong on that, but I don't know. I think that is reading a bit too much into it, that she's like the new dating killer and it's just different because it's a woman. It's like, maybe, but I don't think we know enough about the previous victims or anything. It doesn't really give you a ton of what her MO is.
Yeah. And it's also interesting too, it's like when we think that she's the victim, we just don't know anything about the scenario. we're just assuming based on like the movie's painting a very clear picture. Like it's not like we're accidentally inferring that she might be the victim. The movie's going out of its way to put it there, but like I think it's an interesting experiment. And like, so here's an apple. Look at it. It's an apple. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. I didn't even think about it like that. I was just gonna say like, aha, no, it's an orange. I just painted this side of the orange and red or something. Was the joke I was gonna try to go for, but you had to ruin it for
Sorry.
me. No, it's okay. It's okay. Go sit in your corner, but
it's okay. Yeah, when I'm looking through the opening crawl on there, like it's literally just saying like between 2018 and 2020, the most prolific and unique American serial killer of the 21st century went on a calculated multi-state spree that began in Denver, Colorado, and continued through Grand Lake and expanded across Wyoming and central Idaho before culminating in the dense forest of the Hood River County, Oregon. And then it just says, drawing from police interviews, detailed accounts of eyewitnesses, depositions, and observations of various law enforcement. This is a dramatization of the true story. So none of it really gives the backstory on who the Electric Lady is. We just know that this is one of the victims.
Well, how much about her do we need to know, I guess? Is it like...
No, I just think it's reading a lot into it to say that she's like, you know, the twist is that it's a woman who kills her dates. And it's like, maybe this one seems to be that case, but I interpret it as she was on an actual date. Like I think they happened to meet in an actual place and then they went to this hotel and were kind of talking. But it seemed to be a genuine connection from what I interpret it as. But cool. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, she was definitely, seemed for at least a little bit to actually be having some fun with each other until she saw red and everything got horrible. And
well, he was also uncomfortable with their little setup there. Their Mr. Snuffleupagus.
He asked for digits at first. Yeah. He didn't just want the.
Yeah, he was like, we could just exchange numbers if you're not interested. And yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think there's plenty of reason to assume certain things about feminist messaging within the movie, but I really feel like the movie does a hell of a job subverting all that. Like I don't know how you could watch this movie and be shown everything that you see and then be like, oh, this thing's shouting its messaging to me. I don't know. I don't know that.
No.
And that's why I feel the way I do in so many words.
Sorry, Nancy Puppies. She's chewing on something. I don't know what she's chewing on or where she's getting it from, but I gotta handle. I apologize.
Somebody in the chat brought it up earlier about if you have anything you wanted to discuss, bring it forward, please. And well, I don't know. I haven't seen the chat update in a hot minute. I don't know if this is broken or what, but
so we might just be answering all of their questions ahead of time. I'm going to assume that.
That's fair too.
I haven't seen anything new in 8 minutes, and that's alarming to me.
Something will pop up in a
second. There are some newer than that, so sorry, it looks like yours isn't updating. My bad. All
right, well.
I'm getting the updates on my side, not that helps you. But
I appreciate that. Well, you know, if something comes up, just go ahead and holler.
Okay. So I have heard there are some plot holes, like specifically the police should have been aware that the serial killer is in the area, and then they should have been aware that after this hotel incident, you know, that there is a lady who is on the loose that they're looking for. I think part of that, at least the one person that I heard that criticism from, I think there's two reasons why that doesn't quite work for me as a plot hole. So the main thing is I think jurisdiction. So I don't know exactly where this hotel is, but that seemed more like an actual town to me, which I don't know, around me is one of those flyover states. Maybe it's different in other ones, but we do have different jurisdiction. When it's kind of in the woods or whatever, it's generally the sheriffs. And then when it's in town, it's generally the police. To me, I see that as a different jurisdiction. You know, this hotel incident didn't necessarily happen in the sheriff's jurisdiction. And then there was also supposed to be this Hood River incident that I'm guessing would have probably taken both of the vehicles out of the situation. So they wouldn't know exactly whose is going on in this.
I would have loved to have seen that Hood River scene. The Hood River is so beautiful. Yeah. Oregon is such a gorgeous state. Sorry.
Oh my God, you Westerners.
It's so beautiful, though, man. You gotta love the moss. It's so green.
Good year for Oregon again. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Long Legs and Strange Darlings. Let's go.
Long Legs was Oregon?
Oh yeah, no. One of the first scenes, like where you see the back of a car and it's an Oregon license plate. I'm just like, ooh, yay, Oregon!
Pacific Northwest is, they're doing their thing this year. Hell yeah.
All right, so I see a diverting topic. 121, 122 is what. If you haven't watched Strange Darling and you sat through this, like seriously, why? But if you've watched,
thank you.
yeah, way to ruin it. If you have watched it and there's something that we did not discuss, or if you have a theory for the color black, please let us know down below. And I hope everyone had fun. But at this moment, we'll be segueing into the open floor, and I could see that "Talk to Me" is being discussed, and that's not very Darling-ish. So, thank you. We're just going to open the floor to chat right now. Marcy 45 Danish Kona Tak.
Thank you, sir.
So I watched Talk to Me, and I thought it was okay, not as good as people say. It didn't hammer home for me in the last act, and I hated the main character.
It's really hard to enjoy a movie if you hate the main character. It is generally a task. I kind of liked it. Maybe it was hyped up a bit too much to me. I was told it was like the horror movie of the year. I thought it was okay. I liked a lot of what they did visually. It seemed really cool, especially kind of the camera movements for certain things.
Yeah, it's good. It's something that I think we've seen some variation of over the course of time. Haunted thing causes people to do. It's very Japanese horror, very early 2000s Japanese horror, and a lot of it's like Smile feels to me like some distant cousin of The Ring or Ringu or whatever. This feels like that too, and I think my problem was I think I ended up seeing it like very late last year, and after this is like to bring it back to Strange Darling for a second. I feel like the amount that we're talking about how great Strange Darling is, someone who's expecting it to be a 5-star movie is going to be like, what? What even is that? And that's kind of how I felt with Talk to Me. I was like, all right, it's okay. It's not, it's not going to transcend the horror genre.
And I think maybe
go ahead. I just gonna say I just know it's A24. That's all I know about it. But I love A24. Go ahead though, Gray.
I thought it looked really cool, but yeah, I think maybe it was the fact that it was hyped up as like the best horror of the year.
What the shit was that?
Apologize about that. A plane just landed in the room that I'm in. No, my other computer, apparently the headphones were not connected. So I apologize about that. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't dislike the film, but I just think I had it really hyped up, but I had that happen with this one, and I absolutely love Strange Darling. So I don't know. Lindsay, you're the tying vote. What do you think? Good or bad? Do you remember Talk to Me?
Oh, I've never seen it. I just I love A24, so I'm always interested. I've never seen a bad movie from A24. At least maybe this will be the bad movie if I sit down and watch it. Like even what was it, Lamb? I even loved Lamb. Did you guys ever end up seeing that? That was a weird one, but I loved it.
Is that different than?
That was a weird one. It was Novovich.
It was Novovich. That's true.
I'm not familiar with Lamb. I'm sorry.
Oh, there's a couple
interesting cover.
Yeah, they have a kid, and it's like a half human, half lamb, and it's like spooky. Like, where's this like lamb coming from?
Oh, I've seen the trailer for that. I think
it's extremely weird, but the last 5 minutes are so nuts. I love it.
Huh. I thought all her choices throughout the movie were like, why all the bad happened because of her. Yeah, but I think the movie was telling you that she may have not had complete control over some of those things. Like the vision she was seeing was tied into the hand and so on and so forth. Logan, I have not seen Smile 2. I missed, I had a bit of a faux pas with the trains yesterday.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But no notes just yet.
I'm excited about what I'm seeing. I've seen a whole bunch of different thumbnails and videos saying like Smile 2 is as good as Smile 1. So I've been kind of avoiding them to not spoil it before this weekend, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing just everyone report back, this is horrible, this is Joker 2 all over again.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
I'm seeing a lot of positive things too. I'm super hyped.
Yeah, I mean, I have to watch it, and the sooner the better. I could have
The
been
people in the thumbnails are smiling, so.
Are they doing these?
Oh no.
Yes.
It's more of the Mr. Beast smile where your eyes are dead, but you're like
hiding secrets that don't want to tell anybody about.
Yeah, what's the Mr. Beast horror movie? I'd watch that. Like,
it's just real life. It's just whatever.
Just real life. It's just the footage that they didn't use for one of his videos.
Behind the scenes.
So, anything else while we go around the horn here?
I mean, I think we've covered a lot of the criticism, but yeah, I think that's basically it. I guess. Ooh, sorry. Real question. What are you guys' thoughts on Kyle Gallner maybe becoming one of those actors when they are in a horror movie? They are the shit, like Kevin Bacon, Justin Long, and Bill Skarsgård.
Kyle Gallner has kind of undone all of the bad will from the early 2000s, where he was in a Nightmare remake, and everyone's like, no, thank you. And I mean, he's in both Smiles.
Have been bangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is he in the second one? I didn't realize he was in too. Well, hell yeah.
Apparently, because he was on the red carpet. So.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So whatever that means.
Well, what I learned right before the stream today was apparently he played Kid Flash on Smallville like 20 years ago. I didn't watch a lot of Smallville, but I did see Kid Flash. That was Kyle Gallner. That's insane.
He's in Smile. He's in Scream 5. He's in.
But he's in a few other one. What's that one? It's not. He's been in a couple dramas recently that are all kind of killer.
He's in Red State.
Was the kid that got locked up in Red State? Yeah. Very young.
Ooh, I need to go back and watch that. I haven't seen that in like a decade.
Movie.
Yeah. I got out of Kevin Smith for a while. I've seen everything that he's done except for the whatever you want to call it, his Bitcoin movie or whatever.
Oh,
his non-fungible movie.
Of course, he was emo twink in Jennifer's Body.
He was, yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, there's certain.
But yeah, his last couple ones, you really got me into one of them. Man, Dinner in America is just like amazing. But right after that, he did like. So he did The Passenger not too long ago, and then Mother May I as well. He's doing some other ones that are decent out of horror. But man, I didn't realize he had done so many since Dinner in America. That was only 2020, and he's got like 8 credits between now and then. So good on him.
If you were to take like the vibe on him in 2010 and now, like it kind of bothers me that he doesn't have a more, I don't know, a bigger name or something, because he's a great actor.
Going to.
Yeah.
I mean, with Scream and Smile and everything, like people are starting to notice him, but I hope they see like this, Dinner in America, even The Passenger. There's some awesome performances from him.
The Passenger, is that like the Hitcher type?
It's kind of a new one. It's from last year. It's man is forced to face his fears and confront his troubled past. He must find a way to survive when his coworker snaps and goes on a violent killing spree. So it's kind of intense, but it's not exactly horror. But there's someone who's brought along for the ride. They're the passenger.
I completely forgot that he was in Scream 5. He's the abusive boyfriend, right, or something like that, like the creep and no, that's nuts. Dude's good. He's kind of he fades into movies. He doesn't really stand out as, oh, I'm Kyle Gallner and I'm here, and that's a good thing too, because he's in all these movies doing his thing. He's being an actor. Good for him, man.
It's wild that Scream 5 you had Melissa Barrera, Kyle Gallner, and what the fuck? What is
Ortega?
Yes, Jenna Ortega. Like those are 3 heavy horror hitters, I would say, for the modern half decade or so. And it's fascinating. It's really cool to see that there's a lot more to these movies than just, you know, titles and gimmicks.
For sure. I'm glad to see that he's actually getting some recognition out there too, because man, there's some intense performances.
Someone in chat said he was in Walking Dead. I just looked him up. I do
Wait,
not recognize this character at all.
Oh, you don't remember Zach?
No.
Yeah, like they mentioned, start of season 4. You know,
Okay.
he's not there in the mid of the season, but he's there at the start.
Very brief.
Cool. Does he just like walk up and be like, "Hi, I'm Kyle Gallner. You might remember me from such movies as," and then he dies? Or like
I mean,
Well, he's not very long in Red State either. He's maybe in half an hour, if that.
I need to rewatch that one, man. It's been well over a decade for me.
He's the one that gets locked up in the cage where they're doing the churchy stuff.
Cool. No, yeah, it's been, yeah, I don't even remember. It's been too long. I did like Red State a lot though, like especially because that was like a crazy break for Kevin Smith, like just like away from his normal stuff. But like, oh, good movie.
Yeah, and then like he did Tusk, which was kind of different, and then he just like started fucking around. I was like, no.
I swear I'm the only person who
You
likes
don't
yoga
like
hosers. I swear I'm the only person who.
Come
No,
on.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I saw it at Comic-Con. Like Screen Junkies were there. Kevin Smith was there in person. Like it was like a whole thing. It was super fun, and that might have been why I liked it.
You don't want to see Johnny Depp's daughter act with Kevin Smith's daughter in a buddy film?
Thank you. Nope.
Okay.
You don't want to see a Nazi steal the show? Like, come on.
No.
I kind of like Tusk in a weird way. I know it's not a good film, but for some reason, walrus body horror is kind of fun.
Yeah, it just takes like a goofy turn, and I'm just
it
for
does.
The last half. I'm just like, come on, man, what is this?
I never saw Tusk. Isn't Johnny Depp in that as like
yes.
some weird investigator?
Yes, but uncredited.
Okay.
But yes, he may make an appearance in another one of his movies. But yeah,
Clerks 5.
Maybe.
He's actually just playing Johnny Depp. His career's gone to hell, and he's forced to work at a convenience store now.
Lindsay, we got coming up?
Lots of stuff. All kinds of various YouTube shorts and stuff. Sadly, my daily uploads plan has kind of gone to hell because YouTube's launch of 3-minute shorts didn't work out, and so I'm not entirely sure when I'll be able to upload the 15 some odd videos I have locked and loaded and ready to go. But at some point, I'm going to be having lots and lots of very consistent content. And I'm currently trying to edit a couple of just stupid little things together just so my channel is alive and well. And we're going to talk about some of that actually once the cameras go off, because little surprises and stuff.
Ooh, you should just chop them up into 3 little pieces. So you have 3-part shorts.
Shut your whore mouth. No,
fit within the 3 minutes. Speaking of whores and mouths,
it's
great. Hey,
what's your whore
that was our secret, man. Yeah, so I am going to be using my YouTube channel again. A couple people asked me, since I don't hate Folie à Deux, to kind of explain why I don't and kind of, I guess, give my analysis, because I think a lot of the criticism isn't necessarily fair. So, expect a video in the near future on there. But if you just can't get enough of me and you want more Charles, in just a few short hours on That Darn Kidda's channel, you can watch The Thinkers, where we happen to just be discussing the film that we're talking about today. So it's a group of very unique people from like about 3, maybe more continents getting together, disagreeing about everything. This time it's going to be the movie Strange Darling. And then from there, a lot of the thinkers were calling it an artsy film. So it goes on to what would you consider an artsy film? It could be a fun conversation or a really horrible debate. But if you want to join us, please do that tomorrow morning on That Darn Kidda's channel. That's YouTube at That Darn Kidda. That's about all I got going on. Charles, do you have more, sir?
Thanks, Gray. So I've been slowly putting together collections of when Brian Lomax and I have kind of gotten into it. I would highly suggest that if you enjoy what Brian Lomax and I do, those clips are being built because a supporter of the channel asked me to do a top 5, and I don't know if there's 5, but I guess there is. If you enjoy that type of heated discussion about silly stuff, certainly check out Thinkers, especially tomorrow because it is film related. But yeah, if you like people arguing that still manage to have respect for each other, Thinkers is absolutely this space to be. And Smile 2 is coming out this weekend, and whenever I end up seeing it, that's it. That's number 31 for me. And then I go into the cavern to edit this year's video. Supporters will get little by supporters I mean channel members and or patrons. They have clips right now to look at, but as it gets closer and closer to being done, that will be much more relevant and evident over the next week or so. So I probably won't have anything going on until I am finished editing the 31 on 31 for 2024. And the UK should expect me within a month. There's that too.
Oh, they're getting ready. Trust me.
Oh yeah. they've got so many different handcuffs. Logan,
Charles, do you perhaps have something going on this weekend? There's a question from the chat.
From Dice, who is the best person of all of us.
Dice, I do. I guess something came up where someone on TikTok has said a thing or two about horror movies, and it looks like I might be stirring the drama pool with Dice, of course. And yeah, you might want to check that out because it's been a while since I've gotten my self dirty. But
dirty boy.
So watch Charles get dirty this weekend.
Yeah, over on Dice Rolling. That TikTok shit, I like it less and less. But yeah, have a front row seat to that.
That sounds fun.
Does it?
I mean, I'll have fun with it.
I'm looking forward to
it. Yeah. Yeah. Figure I've been too quiet. But maybe Dice will do all the talking. I'll just I agree.
Indeed.
You just sit there and be pretty while Dice does all the dishing for you. I like it.
For the Dice clarifies for the record, this is not the reason I'm dragging Charles into this. I'm excited because I've seen one clip and it's that typical TikTok. Here is a reason why you're the worst thing in the world video. And yeah, last words. Someone.
Slow.